Oh, Cheetah.
Not yet.
No.
I'm gonna hit people that keep taking these.
Wow.
Give it back to me.
Okay.
No, I don't need it.
Okay.
Friday.
Where are you going with that?
You're ready.
Oh my goodness.
So things coming down in Manchester at all? Or?
My sister's
Curriculum instruction tonight.
Oh,
supposed to be attending
yeah, we had a press conference last night. It was fun. Friggin' WMUR didn't show up though. That was,
Can't depend on them.
what you call told me he'd be there. You know, he couldn't be there. Josh, he couldn't be there. He said he did get some.
Who's your eye?
Great. Don't I look like Clark Gable now?
Not quite, but you.
Oh, I mean the one after he died, not the one.
You're 10 years after.
Yeah, well, right when 10.
They're adopting the program of studies tonight for the high school
Really?
without the finalization of the standards yet.
Rush to judgment.
And they're adopting the grant for $621,000 for 21st century,
Hell,
a grant,
yeah, we got that.
21st century.
See, that's the trouble. They don't
Sort of like
think things through. They look at the money and they
not taking advantage of
dollar
the
bells ring.
experience of
That's what's giving Dr. Livingston all her power right
Yeah,
now.
well, yeah, but they got these superintendents under their thumb. That's what's happening.
So the
Sad.
mayor wants more money in the general fund, right? We have a tax cap, right? Now they want to do pay to throw
Oh,
your
I heard
trash,
that. Yeah, I read that.
which will bring in $3.5 million. What, to give to the school department?
Another sucking sound.
And take trash off our taxes. Well, it'll still be there, but
Matter of fact, Manchester picks up my trash. Bernard. Farmington. Over by Rochester. You go up the coast, it's Portsmouth, Dover, Rochester, Farmington.
All right, before we start our executive session, I first of all want to welcome you all back from your weekend vacation and hope that you all had a good rest and dismissed all thoughts of all of the bills and stuff that we deal with here in front of us.
hey, just forget it
Now
all.
are ready to welcome those thoughts back again.
Yeah.
So that we can have a very quick executive session and be out of here to enjoy the sunshine and the cold air, which seems to be hanging around forever and ever and ever. I do need to remind you that March the 11th is town meeting day, that's next Tuesday. And so there will be no committee meetings next week.
Come vote for
I'm
me.
sure you are all, like I am, getting lots of opportunities to do other things legislatively on March the 11th. There are various meetings going on. One of those meetings will be a delegation of Iraqi politicians or people who want to be politicians or legislators who will be here. And Tim Horgan, who is the person associated with the Council for World Affairs, has issued an invitation to representatives, should they wish to meet next Tuesday at a particular time, to meet with the Iraqi delegation. I know Representative Fraser, you met yesterday with a delegation of people from Afghanistan. They were educators, wanting to know information about our education system, and of course, we've had opportunities to meet with delegations from the Middle East and all other sorts of other,
Yeah, that's World
which
Core.
makes it very exciting and interesting.
Limited.
All right, so just cross March the 11th off your calendar, and we will, I don't think there were any other announcements that had to be made? We were waiting for Representative Latta's presence.
The speaker did want to say generous to our office assistant in getting our blurbs done quickly and out to her as quickly as possible, because we have, these assistants have something like 380 bills left to process through that we have to finish up before deadline, before crossover. So that's a lot of blurb writing, and it's a lot to get in the calendar, so they need things as quickly as we can manage.
Okay? All right, well, with that, I will open the executive session and make the announcement, initial announcement, that we have two other representatives joining us today to help in the process of accepting these bills. Representative Rosenwald, who has joined us from the Finance Committee, and Representative Comerford. Comerford, welcome. Thank you very much for taking time out to join us today. The second announcement is the first bill on the docket to the exec is House Bill 1432. That subcommittee was working right through the lunch hour. There is an amendment which will require the subcommittee to really meet again to discuss, and so I am recessing 1432 to a time certain, which will be 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, March the 6th. So please take note of that, and that means that we will need to meet on Thursday morning at 10 o'clock to further executive deliberate and discuss House Bill 1432, which is delaying implementation of certain statewide assessments and studying the effects of delaying implementation of certain changes in the public. And the amendment hopefully will be ready for the subcommittee, which may want to meet. Do you want to meet before that or have it as a full committee meeting?
Just have it as a full.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So with that, our first bill to be exec is House Bill 1239, which is relative to the implementation of new educational standards. And Representative Ladd, on my little sheet here, I had you experiencing something.
Yes, I did.
Would you like to either make a motion or speak to the bill?
Well, I think Representative Shaw beside you has that folder, the report from the subcommittee, and it indicates that the committee did recommend ITL on that bill on a 5-0 vote. The motion was made, I can't remember, Representative Shaw has the individuals who made the motion and seconded it.
Representative Myler and Grassley.
And so I would ask that either Representative Myler or Representative Grassley speak to that.
Representative Fraser's gonna make a motion.
Or Representative Fraser?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am going to move ITL on the bill.
House Bill 1239.
Yes, on HB 1239.
All right, Representative Fraser has moved ITL. Representative Myler has seconded. Further discussion on House Bill 1239. Would you like to speak further to the bill?
Yes, I would just like to, just some of the things that we talked about and considered. We talked about the fact that this Common Core, which this bill seeks to stop its implementation, that the Common Core has been endorsed by a great many national and national organizations with very solid credentials in education. It's been endorsed by the National Chamber of Commerce, the National New Hampshire Business Roundtable, the National PTA, the National Education Association, the New Hampshire College and University Council, and New Hampshire Board of Education, and many others. It has been studied and studied and studied.
Parents.
It is already enforced. Commissioner Barry pointed out that this has been in process for 7 years. It is already happening. In some schools, it's been happening for 4 years, and others for 3 years, and others for 2 years. And that to simply terminate it right now would be to stop people from doing what they are already doing. It was also noted that while while the Common Core was not mandated to, this is the issue of local control, while it was not mandated to the school districts that they had to adopt Common Core, this does mandate against local control. It does tell to school districts, even those that are already doing it, that it can't do it. So those were the main reasons, I believe, why the committee recommended that this bill be IPO.
Representative Fowler, you seconded the bill, or any other member of the committee, do you wish to elaborate?
Yeah, the only thing I would add, Representative Frazier, is that this is really a cost analysis bill. And we felt that it just wasn't necessary, because based upon the testimony that we've got from those who are already in it, that they basically have incorporated the costs for professional development, for other attending issues within their current budget, and that it wasn't necessary.
Thank you, Representative Fowler. Any other member of the committee? All right, Representative Bone, did you have your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to question the committee is, what other bills did you look at the same time? I'll save my comment.
Representative Cordell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to beg to differ with my honorable colleague. This bill does not in any way stop Common Core. If you take a look at line 14, it says not adopt or implement any new college and career readiness standards. The Department of Education, and I'm sure the representatives here can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Department of Education uses the term college and career readiness for all the standards, including English language arts and math, but includes science, social studies, etc. The intent here is to avoid mistakes that have been made with the adoption of Common Core. This is an open and transparent government bill. Before we adopt any new standards, social studies, science, etc., we should go through the process that I have outlined, including the fiscal analysis, the evaluation of this new standard, and public hearings. It does not stop any standards that have already been adopted in New Hampshire. And I would just like to add, there was a comment during the public hearing, during our hearings, that the last section, that to have public hearings in each executive council district would not be convenient, and would be a hardship. And I find that very troubling. If we're not going to, if we're saying that it's a hardship to have an open discussion around the state of new educational standards and letting parents, educators, everybody have the ability to comment, I think shame on us.
Thank you, Representative Cordell. Further discussion or question? Representative People.
Yes, of course, Common Core is central planners, and, you know, I know she gave, Representative Fraser gave some examples, but actually parents, aren't parents in local control the ones that, where the education should come from, and what they think? That's where the innovation comes from. If we have central planners, how in the heck are we ever gonna come up with new ideas? Because the big government's gonna come down and say what's gonna happen. One of the things I think that's driving this is, and Heather Gage can let me know if this is right. We are now getting $116 million from the federal government.
For the.
Okay, and just to bring it forth, in the summer of 2012, we were getting 72 million. 14 million of that was special ed. So in other words, we're getting 48 million more to implement this.
All right, thank you, Representative People. Further discussion or questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Representative Grassi,
Yes.
I'm sorry, the vote is ITL.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald,
Yes.
Representative Burke. Yes. Representative Frazier. Yes. Representative Stang.
Yes.
Representative Arsenault.
Yes.
Representative Schmidt.
Yes.
Representative Myler,
Yes.
Representative Bohm,
No.
Representative Glad,
Yes.
Representative Greenmore,
No.
Representative Petrie,
No.
Representative Willett,
Yes.
Representative Comerford,
No.
Representative Cordelli,
No.
Representative Grenier,
Yes.
Representative Harris,
No.
Representative Guile.
Yes.
I'm looking right at the blank line and drawing a blank. 13-6.
Here the vote is 13-6, the ITL passes. Representative Ball will be in the minority.
Yes.
Yeah.
Representative Cordelli. Good. Okay, moving on, we're gonna hold off on 1587, there is an amendment that is in process and will be ready at 2 o'clock, so we'll, oh, Representative Grassi, no, at 10 o'clock. All right, then the next one is House Bill 1508, terminating state participation in the Common Core educational standards, and that also was your bill, Representative Ladd.
Yes, it was, Madam Chair. The subcommittee met this morning, and there was a recommendation from the subcommittee made by Representative Mauer, second by myself for ITL. And so I recommend to the full body here that we ITL 1508.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Is there a second? Representative Mauer?
Who seconded it?
Representative Mauer. Okay, Representative Ladd, you're recognized to speak for the motion.
I passed a sheet out. I hope there's enough here for those which weren't there at the meeting to go around. Those that were here, don't grab them, please. Did you need one?
Nope, I got one.
See if everybody.
I'll look at mine.
There's, I can send another one down this way. I think Representative Myler took 2 or 3 of them. In looking at Common Core standards, and I think it's important that we identify the Common Core as a standard of what children, students should know and what they should be able to do. It's an objective, it's where we're going. And there are issues which have come under attack which are underneath the areas of curriculum instruction and assessment. That is not the standard. Now, what you do in your individual school, how you teach, what you use to teach, is your business. If you don't like your math program at your local building, get it fixed. Change the Saxon math. That's my own 2 cents right there. But the Common Core, if you look at this sheet right here, Common Core does what I said, delineates exactly what the children should know and be able to do in terms of skills and knowledge. And it does not say you must teach or use this literature piece that the representative beside me is very knowledgeable of. You don't have to use anything written by Mark Twain or Jane Austen, or you may want to. It's up to you to make that decision as the literature English teacher. And states that adopt it, the school districts still have the option to opt out or opt in. It's a local control issue. Now, who established the Common Core standards? You can see the National Governors Association did it in conjunction with the chief state officers, commissioners of all these states. It was actually started well into the Bush era. And the unfortunate thing is that Common Core has become a political football. And under Race to the Top, stimulus money was awarded to those people who wanted to chase the money and under certain conditions. I think that was an error. And because of that, it became a political issue, which it shouldn't be. We shouldn't let adults make something that's good for kids politics. Now, why Common Core? I'm hearing from business and industry in my own area that kids need to come with a better preparation in area of mathematics and science, technology, engineering. that we need to have the individual who's just your average Joe kid come out with a better understanding of basic knowledge. And so I hear that often. We also know by the study that came out of Georgetown University in 2018 that 486,000 jobs in this state will require college or post-secondary education. That means we got to be doing a better job at preparing our students. Going on down, Common Core, first what we had on the books in terms of standards. We know the Fordham Foundation did a study, and the Fordham Foundation, as you can see on the sheet there, rated our old language English program as a C, and our math program is a D. The Common Core language English program is rated as a B+, and the math an A-. That's certainly a step up. There are some states which that didn't happen with, so, like Massachusetts. But in our state of New Hampshire, the Common Core is a stronger standard. We also know that we have a number of students which are leaving our schools and going on to community college that are not prepared, and they having to take remedial education. Now, there's a whole lot of reasons for that, but one could be that our standard needs to be elevated. And by doing so, we're going to hopefully eliminate kids from having to take these remediation courses, which are $500 to $700 a course, and we'll see more of them graduating with a degree. We also know that from the Program for International Student Assessment, the PISA, P-I-S-A, that when we're compared to other industrialized countries, we don't rate very well. And that is a problem. I'd like to see those scores go up. In math, we're 25th. Science, we're 17th. And reading, we're 14th. The Harvard Kennedy study indicated that of our 2011 high school graduates, of the 30 industrialized countries, only 32% of U.S. math students were proficient in mathematics. You can see the states which were proficient. Going on to jumping to the other side here, there's a lot of people which support this, including in our own state, the New Hampshire Business Industry Association, Business Roundtable, Chamber of Commerce. You can look at many conservative legislators, Jeb Bush, Bill Bennett, John Engler, Chris Christie, Mike Huckabee, on down, Bobby Jindal, who will be visiting our state here, support Common Core. Now, what they don't like is the federal government saying this is what you're going to do. So it's a state initiative to say, yes, we're going to adopt the Common Core, and that's what this state has done. You can see there's also a number of people that are in large corporations which support this. The New Hampshire College and University Council, Tom Horgan, has said that this Common Core standards are evidence-based, aligned with college and work expectations, and are informed by the highest standards across the country and the globe. You can look at the rest of them there too. Edie Hirsch, conservative professor down at University of Virginia, who wrote the Core Knowledge Program, is really saying to the whole country, it's about time we got on the freight train with core knowledge and skills. We're moving in a direction that he was espousing years ago. So, in conclusion, Madam Chair, Smarter Balance is a separate question and a separate issue from Common Core. There are issues, and I spoke to them at length this morning, and I don't want to go through that tirade again. But the Smarter, and I'm sure you don't want me to. But the Smarter Balance assessment is a separate issue. How we assess, how we teach, and what we use to teach are separate than the core standards. So it came out of our committee 5-zip, and I would urge this committee, full committee, to support the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Representative Ladd, and thank you for this information sheet. This is an excellent breakdown and analysis of the bill, and I appreciate the effort that you have put into it. Representative Bone.
Yes, thank you. As I said in the previous bill, my comments to this. In July 2010, after the legislative session was over, the BOE, along with Governor Ledge, decided to adopt on principle the Common Core standards. This infuriated many legislators at a time, and it appeared to many that the BOE and DOE deliberately ignored the law. RSA 193E2A, which states, changes made by the Board of Education, the school approval standard through rulemaking after the effective date of this session shall not be included within the standards that constitute the opportunity for the delivery of adequate education without prior adoption by the general court. The following year, Representative Rick Ladd and others introduced a bill, House Bill 164, that amended the above laws to make sure that Common Core would need general court approval, as we felt the DOE was spinning the existing law. This bill passed the House Ed Committee with a full unanimous vote of 17 to nothing. Passed the House on a consent calendar, passed the Senate Ed Committee with an amendment, but then the Senate tabled it. Then in order to get a waiver from continuing the failed No Child Left Behind federal law, the DOE stated that New Hampshire would use Common Core. I would rather have not asked for the waiver because then it would have shown that more than 90% of schools in New Hampshire did not meet the NCLB requirements, which then would have shown that NCLB was a bad law. So I was quite amused when we heard testimony that NCLB was not a failed federal system. If it was not a failed system, then why did we need a waiver? I noticed that the testimony against 1508 was made by people paid to be here. Superintendents, lobbyists paid by taxpayer money, BIA and others, while people for the bill were parents, teachers, etc., that were here on their own time and dime. The DOE keeps stating that school districts are not mandated to use Common Core, but the statewide testing is based on Common Core. You can't have one without the other. It is a mandate, but again, they need to spin it to get around the New Hampshire Constitution. What I've seen about some of the curriculum, it will indeed push us further down the ladder as compared to other countries, as every other federal education mandate has done since they started interfering. The math curriculum is turning math into a subjective course. You can get credit for an answer even if it's wrong if you did it correctly, correctly meaning has subjectively graded by someone. Math is an absolute. Either you get it right or you miss the moon. We keep hearing that this is local control. When did 15% equal local control? School districts must buy Common Core approved material, but they can only add 15%. Is that local control? This will only cause teachers to teach to the test. Again, corporations such as Microsoft, Apple, Pearson, etc. are pushing Common Core for their own profit. The federal government is forbidden by law to mandate a curriculum, yet they're the ones forcing this on the state by threatening loss of money. And a comment made by Representative Ladd about conservative politicians approving this, I did not hear the name of too many conservative politicians in that list. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bone. Questions? Representative Shaw.
I just wanted to ask Representative Ladd what the vote was in subcommittee, because it wasn't written down.
5-0.
Thank you.
Other questions? Representative Willett. Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Mauer had his hand up earlier. Representative Willett, I'd like to recognize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, as I look at this bill as being the big kahuna of what we're doing here. Because it basically is providing how we're going to transform education in the state. And we're all here to deal with what we believe would be the best for our children in the state. So we come at it from different points of view. I've studied this issue a lot. In fact, this notebook is filled with all the correspondence which I've looked at. I've attended the Cornerstone overview earlier in this year to try to get, as did several of our committee members, to try to get an understanding. I've identified, I think, what I think are 11 key concerns. One, it's a federal mandate. Two, that the local school district must participate. A loss of local control. Lack of input. National curriculum. Rigor is an interesting issue because some things it's more, some things it's less. The lack of teacher vetting of the standards, the test and the technology as an underfunded mandate. There have been two validators that have been advocates against this. The data privacy question and the moratorium on the tests. Those are the 11 that I have heard consistently through various voices. But let's look at those. Is it a federal mandate? Was it created by the Department of Education? Absolutely not. We know it was created by our chief state school officers, our commissioner, and governors. As I look at looking at some kind of a standard for a national, where else best would that be done if you're looking at a national? Not out of bureaucracy of the federal government, but by our own representatives that come into that conversation. Local must participate. We heard in this committee the commissioner saying absolutely not that it is voluntarily. She testified to that effect. Loss of local control. We have objectives as the standard with the curriculum being developed at the local level. Clearly, how school districts want to meet those standards is their prerogative. It's not being demanded by anybody else as far as what the substance of it is to meet that objective. Lack of input. This thing has been developed over 4 years. There's been hundreds of people who have looked at these standards, who have modified the standards. The standards have been changed as a result of that input. National curriculum. I've just spoken to that. It is not a national curriculum. National standards, local curriculum. Rigor. Some experts say it's better. Some experts say it's not enough. I think it's up to the local to decide that. The lack of teacher vetting, I've already spoken to that. There have been hundreds of practitioners in the classroom that have looked at this issue and have basically helped change those original designs. The cost of the testing. We've heard testimony from people who implement budgets, local budgets, saying that they're incorporating that into their regular capital outlays and capital improvements in their budgets. Now you've had two people who've been speaking a lot about this. We know those names, Melgrim and Stotsky, I think his last name is. They're 2 of 29 who validated this. That doesn't include all of the other experts in math and language arts that have said these are good standards. 2 people in comparison to the others that are involved in it. Now the issue of data privacy, the mining of these exams, the results. We have state laws. There is an agreement with Smarter Balance on how they're only going to get the raw data. There's no way you can get it back to the names of the kids who took it. Plus we're dealing with, in this committee later, furthering that privacy question. So, you know, we've had these issues and answers have been given, but some don't like the answers. Well, let me tell you, there's a large gap, in my mind, between skeptical inquiry and ideological defiance. Skeptical inquiry versus ideological defiance. I've been involved in education for more than 50 years. This is the most transformative initiative for education I've seen in my lifetime. It provides an opportunity for people, for students, to go to higher levels of understanding and higher levels of thinking. I believe the Department of Education has done it right. Unlike other states, unlike New York, for example, and even sometimes unlike Massachusetts, there has been a very direct way of involving people. They haven't rushed this thing through. They've involved people. There's been no rush. They've gone slow to go fast, not the other way around. Finally, I'd like to say that I believe that the Common Core moves us from a jeopardy approach to education, question and answer, to question, answer, proof. It is the proof that makes a difference. Let me give you an example. I've got a granddaughter by the name of Mackenzie, who is a freshman in high school this year. Last year when she was in middle school, she was a straight A student. But she wanted a challenge. And in Massachusetts, they have an opportunity where they have a school choice, where you can basically apply to go to another school outside your residential district. She did that. And she's now going to Hamilton Wyndham High School that is deeply embedded in the Common Core. At the end of the last semester, she and I had a little conversation about her grades. She said BP, you know, when you're a grandparent, you get another name, mine happens to be BP. She says to me, she says, well, I didn't get all A's this time. I got 3 A's and 3 B's. And I said, well, let's talk a little bit about that. And she said, you know, she doesn't know a thing about Common Core. She doesn't understand that. But she said, you know, when I was at O'Malley, I memorized everything. I did really well there. In this school, I can't memorize. I have to prove what I know. Now, I didn't get all A's, but you know what? I learned a lot more. So, we are looking for children who are coming to school with a much higher level of expectation. The issue of technology has boomeranged and moved us quicker, the need to respond quicker. I am convinced that the Common Core standards take our children to the 21st century. There are going to be some in this room and some in this legislature that's going to say, hey, I know how I was educated. I did okay. It's okay for my kids to do the same thing. That is a false premise, I believe. And if we do not move forward on this, our children are going to languish. I encourage you to support the ITL.
Thank you very much, Mr. Myler, Representative Myler. Representative Bulette, you had a question, and then I believe Representative
Well,
Cordelli.
both of my questions have been answered, but I just want to make a statement. I was definitely against Common Core. I have been for a long time. Because I've heard a lot of falsehoods, a lot of stories, a lot of people telling me things that are not true. Like Common Core started at the United Nations. I had been here, so for the last 2 weeks, I was probably ready to go up to Pleasant Street. I don't know if they still have that hospital up there. But I talked to educators, I talked to superintendents, I talked to curriculum directors, principals of schools, I talked to school teachers that are new. Purposely, I talked to teachers that have like 1 or 2 years experience with me. And I'm now in favor of Common Core. I've got all the things, and I ended up, everyone asking them one question. With Common Core, will our students be better educated? And they all said, in my sense, yes. And it was a big decision for me to back Common Core.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for doing that kind of research to follow up on some of the rumors that you hear, and that's helpful. Yeah. So we want you to stay here. Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I look at Common Core standards both from quality and control points of view. You can look to Massachusetts as an example. They had what were recognized as probably the highest standards, or one of the highest, top 2 or 3 in the country in both English language arts and mathematics. They decided to go to Common Core. As someone said previously, they chased the money, $250 million. That's why they did it. But now they're slowing down on the transition to Common Core. Why? Because they're starting to see the results. Other states have started to see the results. We have, let me just mention this also. This is, I'll just read a sentence from the Joint Statement of Early Childhood Health and Education Professionals on the Common Core Standards Initiative. Such standards will lead to long hours of instruction in literacy and math. Young children learn best in active, hands-on ways and in the context of meaningful, real-life experiences. New research shows that didactic instruction of discrete reading and math skills has already pushed play-based learning out of many kindergartens. Goes on. But we heard from my fine colleague about skeptics. The skeptics are people like the parent who handed us these examples of her children's homework example in our hearing. It's the parents and educators across this country who are the skeptics. There's a firestorm out there across the country. Every state you can mention, there's a firestorm. And it's not coming from the top, it's coming from the bottom. It's a grassroots firestorm. And why? Because they're seeing what's going on, and it's not because they've discovered that their children aren't brilliant, as our Secretary of Education said. It's because they see what's happening to their children. And that's why I will support 1508.
Thank you, Representative Cordelli. I'm sorry.
You're on California
All
time.
right, I'm still in California, you know, that's where I was last week. Representative Arsenault.
I have spent a lot of time talking about Common Core implementation in my own school district, and I've never seen teachers and administrators so excited. They really, really like it. One of my sons does after-school programming for the 21st Century Grant, and they're aligning all of their teaching with the Common Core standards, and he's excited. Now, I don't think that homework assignments have anything to do with the Common Core. That's curriculum. That's not dictated by the standards we want our children to learn. That's what I hear the most. Parents coming up to me saying, you know, my child can't recite math facts, or my child, it reminds me of when I was a kid and my parents complained about new math. They didn't teach it the way they learned it. I'm much better at math than my parents. But at any rate, I just think that the testing, the curriculum, and the standards are three very different things, and I think that we're confusing them. But I know that in my school district and with people that I know, they really like these standards. We're not dictated to in terms of what we implement for curriculum and how we apply them. They don't give us homework. It's not dictated. So I've been very impressed with the, much like Representative Willett, with what I've heard from feedback within our schools.
Representative Shaw, and then Representative Willett.
Yes, I agree with Representative Arsenault and Representative Myler. With all due respect to those who have questions about the curriculum that's being used to teach the Common Core, a couple of the worksheets that I looked at impressed me that they were no different than what I was using 20 years ago in the classroom with hands-on learning, with Cuisenaire rods and using bundles of tens and, you know, doing these things with the kids. The only difference, and actually in modern math back about 30 years ago, the kids had a notebook where they actually verbalized in writing what they did to get the answer. It wasn't, which is the same thing that, you know, why is it, and the kids actually learned very well that way, because you can teach a dog to sit and stand, and you can teach a monkey to react to commands and learn things, but a human being thinks. And thinking is analysis, it's critical thinking, it's conceptual, it's all of the things that Common Core standards are asking you to do. Not just regurgitate facts. You're going to learn them as you go through the process of learning the math. Nobody says that the kids can't memorize their math facts, but they need to know why, or they can explain why, and we've been asking kids to do that for years. Why is 3 times 3 the same as 3 plus 3 plus 3? Tell me. So they have to write it. There's nothing wrong with learning to write. There's too much in today's society that is not challenging to students. You watch if you watch a child's TV show, you're watching the kids watch TV and they learn the kids' names and they sing a song, whatever. But when they take a video game, they have to learn a strategy. They gotta figure out how something's gonna happen or why something's gonna happen. What difference does it make if it's on a video game or if you're teaching a math skill? Learn why. Be able to allow the teacher to be creative and say, let's figure out this together, let's work on this project together, let's come up with an answer. I just think it's one of the best changes that's been made in education for a long time. The No Child Left Behind initiative was thrown at everybody, and it was a regurgitation of facts. This is what you gotta learn because this is what you're gonna get tested on. And you got 40 minutes for math, and you got 50 minutes for language arts, and you better make sure that that language arts is done in 50 minutes and the math is done in 40. This allows more flexibility. It's back to when I was teaching and when I enjoyed being able to be creative with the kids. Nobody's dictating that I have to fall into a marketing pit and buy a book that says Common Core Curriculum. There's no such thing as a Common Core curriculum. It's a Common Core standard. You develop the curriculum. You figure out what you're going to do. I just want to finish with one thing. One of the things that was driving people crazy was the fact that somebody was asking them to analyze the preamble to the Constitution. When I was in first grade and I said the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, for a whole year I thought I was pledging allegiance to Richard Sands. And I finally figured out after a couple of years that it was for which it stands. So when the kids came to me in fourth grade, I said, you know, when my fourth graders came in, and we were saying the Pledge of Allegiance and everything, I thought it would be nice to have them understand what they were saying. So we substituted words. I pledge. What's pledge mean? Promise. Allegiance. What's allegiance? Loyalty to the flag. And then I'd stop and ask them, why are you pledging loyalty to a flag? Well, Mrs. Shaw, it tells you afterwards. And, well, we didn't get to that right. And to the republic. What's a republic? It's a free country for which it stands. What stands? The flag stands for that country. One nation, under God, indivisible, not invisible. Ask how many kids say invisible. It's not invisible, it's indivisible. What does that mean? It means unable to be divided. You learn a prefix there, in, also, doing that. With liberty, what's liberty? Freedom. Justice, what's justice? Fairness for all. Did that hurt those fourth graders to understand what they were saying in the Pledge of Allegiance? Annette.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Representative Blumet.
I just want to make a couple of things that I learned. We're talking about curriculum a lot. We've got to remember that Common Core curriculum is a minimum standard. Milford, I have to talk about my own district again, because that's what I know, using what they call everyday math. it is not new math or modern math. They are gonna continue with that. What they do is they just, excuse me, they just add a little bit on it to put in, what you say, so that they know that 3 times 3 is also 3 plus 3 plus 3. It is, Common Core does not tell the school districts what to teach. In no way. And that was one of the things that I had to overcome. And it is a minimum standard, and everyone I talked to said it is not, I don't like using this word, but I do it a lot, dumbing down education. It's actually the highest standard that most schools have now.
Further questions, Representative Cordelli?
Yes, I just wanted to finish with one quote. This is September 27th from Bill Gates. It would be great if our education stuff worked, but we won't know that for probably a decade.
And,
That's understandable.
yeah,
Because
if you've been
If you've been in teaching,
you know that.
you know that
You're not-
the first group that starts in kindergarten right now is going to really show in 10 or 12 years whether or not this actually was working. By 5 years or 4 years, you're going to see the results in the 4th grade testing. But the real truth of it is going to come out, in 10 or 12 years. But that's with everything. That's not unusual.
Get started.
And it'll be monitored all the way through, and you certainly can imagine that if it's not working and they see it's not working, they will modify or make changes. But I think this is the beginning of a good base for standard for the whole country, so that, that's it. Not gonna go on anymore.
Representative Petrie, I saw you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Finland has been touted as #1 in the world by the UN. And Representative Ladd said that we were 14th. Well, the PISA that they take, which you mentioned, all right, correlates very closely to the NAEP. Now, if you took the Finland test scores and put them against our NAEP, they would only be 25th out of 50. All right? Now, in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago, there was a ranking of schools. Massachusetts is #1, but guess where New Hampshire came in? #4. So, you can take these numbers, but we test everybody. Finland, I seen a video here a short time ago that showed they're very laid back. It's a very laid back curriculum and rigor, I think, in the schools. It was quite telling. And also, they don't start school till 7 years old, which was another thing that we start way back. But it doesn't. You got to do apples and oranges, and we're not doing it.
Thank you very much. Representative Petrie, if there are no further questions, I will have the clerk call the roll. The motion is to ITL House Bill 1508, and I will say that I'm inspired by the discussion that has taken place here on this bill. And I appreciate the effort and the work that all representatives on this committee have gone into to research this bill. So with that, I will ask the clerk to call the roll. Again, the motion is ITL.
Representative Grassi,
Yes.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald,
Yes.
Representative Burke,
Yes.
Representative Frazier,
Yes.
Representative Spanning,
Yes.
Representative Arsenault,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Myler,
Yes.
Representative Bohm,
No.
Representative Ladd,
Yes.
Representative Greenmore,
No.
Representative Petrie,
No.
Representative Willett,
Yes.
Representative Comerford,
No.
Representative Cordelli,
No.
Representative Grenier,
Yes.
Representative Harris,
No.
Representative Guile,
Yes.
13-6.
Will there be a minority report, Representative Bone?
Mine's chasing the check.
Ready?
Glenn's shaking his head again.
Well,
Yes or no?
Yes.
I'll help you out.
Okay, here's written out.
Is that window too cold for you?
I did mine.
It's about 13 to 6.
It might have opened too much.
Okay, this is for representative class.
Doesn't bother me.
13-6 for ICO. And on the minority reports, I just want to remind people that do them, I wrote check 1 at the top because the committee vote, like on this, is 13-6 for ITL, but you're writing a minority report for ought to pass, so you need to check ought to pass at the top. Just a reminder, because it's confusing to our secretary.
Thanks for the reminder.
It's okay.
All right.
Now you tell us that at the last day of the decade.
Representative Grassi is just going to see if her
And I
amendment
check on the amendment, yeah.
has, but why don't we,
The mothers will decide.
Next bill that we'll deal with, which is relative to student assessment data privacy.
Correlates to the name.
And I think that's-
So that means Massachusetts number 1 in the world.
No, mine was 1238. I don't have, oh, wait a minute. Right, here's another pile. Yes, I did. No.
That just got a division. Yeah. Not gonna go to the whole fight.
All right, Representative Grassi, are you coming back?
No.
It's ready and I'm just gonna go pick it up. Oh, thank you. Anne's gonna pick it up.
Yeah, 'cause we
Thank you
need,
very much. Oh, that was handy.
Yes,
just for your, we're dealing with House Bill 1262, and Representative Shaw chaired all of the bills on assessment, so she has been very busy in that regard, and I'm going to ask her to speak to the committee's recommendation.
we had, 2 of them, with 1496 and 1262.
Right,
on-
yeah.
Yeah, and we decided that we would, it was unanimous in our subcommittees that we wanted to refer these for interim study because we felt that we would like to meet a couple of times over the summer or the early fall and have some expert input from the DOE or from whomever in relation to what exactly the federal law mandates, what exactly we need to improve. We just thought there was too much technical information in both of these bills for us to just make a decision, because we originally just, we didn't know where to turn on this. And there wasn't enough time to really go into this in depth. There was questions about FERPA. Yeah, FERPA. There are questions about laws that are already in existence, and we felt that we needed more time, but we didn't want to kill it. we really wanna do something, by referring it for interim study, we're not gonna just let it die. We really wanna meet, or have a committee meet, at least a couple of times, and ask some, experts from the DOE to come in and give us a heads up on where we need to go with this, and possibly combine both of these bills together and come up with, something that's, you know, more, accurate or right on target
So are you making a motion?
for interim study, yes.
All right, Representative Shaw has made a motion to interim study 1262. Is there a second from the committee? Second. Representative Grenier. All right, Representative Shaw has already spoken to her reasoning behind the interim study motion. Are there questions either for Representative Shaw or Representative Grenier, who also sat on the committee? Seeing none, are you ready to call the roll? All right, the clerk will call the roll. The motion is interim study for House Bill 1262.
Representative Grassi,
Yes.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald,
Yes.
Representative Burke,
Yes.
Representative
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Representative Spang,
Yes.
Representative Arsenault,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Myler,
Yes.
Representative Bone,
No.
Representative Ladd,
Yes.
Representative Bremore,
Yes.
Representative Petrie,
No.
Representative Willett,
Yes.
Representative Bick, Representative Comerford,
No.
sorry. Representative Cordelli,
No.
Representative Grenier,
Yes.
Representative Harris,
No.
Yes.
14-5.
Will there be a minority report on House Bill 1262?
No.
All right, no minority report. Okay. We'll move on to 1496, which is relative to the objectivity and validity of student assessment materials. And again, that was Representative Shaw. 1496.
This was, we had the same recommendation for this, and we thought we'd work on both of them at the same time, because we feel there's some very valid points in both of these bills, but we also think we need to make sure that we have very good input as to just exactly what we're trying to do and what we want to do with these bills. Interim study, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second for the motion? Representative Grenier.
And Madam Chair, could I speak just a moment?
Certainly.
In the process of considering these two bills, and with some dialogue afterwards from someone who was in attendance, there is some misconception in terminology regarding what is objectively assessing, and it has to do with how we attach terminology, whereas in some tests we have the idea of multiple choice, fill in, and open response. The word objective is, I think, being confused with objectivity in testing. And I think that was a big hang-up during our discussion in terms of the language of the statute and what it means. And I think there needs to be clarification that even in an open response question, there has to be an objective rubric to assess it. And there was certainly a lot of confusion there, and I think that needs to be clarified in the study, and I think the interim study will help address I think it's a terminology misconception in terms of what we're saying and what people think we're doing. And so I think it's important to clarify.
Thank you, Representative Grenier. Further questions relative to 1496? The motion is interim study, and I think the idea being to group it with 1262 to study the assessment issue further. Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk if she's ready.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Representative Grassi,
Yes.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald,
Yes.
Representative Burke,
Yes.
Representative Frazier, Representative Spang,
Yes.
Representative Arsenault. I'm sorry. Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Myler,
Yes.
Representative Bone,
No.
Representative Glad,
Yes.
Representative Greenmore,
Yes.
Representative Petrie,
No.
Representative Willett,
Yes.
Representative Comerford,
No.
Representative Cordelli,
Yes.
Representative Grenier,
Yes.
Representative Harris,
Yes.
Representative Guile.
Yes.
Fifteen,
15,
three.
3. No, not with 3. I don't want to have Mr. Brown put it up in the clerk. We're gonna have enough of his work that day.
It's only his bill.
All right. Okay. Do we want one, let's take the one remaining assessment, bill on assessment 1238, and then we'll take a little break. House Bill 1238, which is relative to access to assessment materials.
This is a quickie. Hot and fast. The subcommittee, oh wait, we have an amendment.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Okay,
He's having a hard
way
time.
too easy. The committee met and, liked the amendment. Where is it? That's Rick.
I've got the, I've got the.
I got it right here. That's the original, thank you. And these are copies. No. I don't have the, do we have a copy for everybody?
What is the amendment? I don't have a copy.
It's, 0735H.
Gee, I thought I did, but perhaps not. Do you want to take a break now and I'll run upstairs and have copies made?
That's a good idea.
I thought they had a pile of them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
probably did too.
It's stuck in some folder.
No, these are mine. Unless they're out in the, those are Representative Morchaki. Wait a minute, what's underneath it? No,
No, this is not the latest. Amendment from Representative Kentucky, is it?
no, that's the old one. You wanna go ask Judy if she has them out there?
Okay.
Because-
Leave the originals and I'll just put them upstairs if she doesn't.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I guess we'll take a little recess while we're. Pardon?
Hey, Laura,
Or stretch.
I thought AFT was against Common Core.
All right, why don't we,
No, we support Common Core.
take,
It's the high standard.
5 minutes.
So you're against Smart Bill?
High stakes.